What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Movies That Make You podcast. Season 2 is in full gear, and so we are super excited for what we got going on this season. Just to let you know what that means, we still have our weekly Prepisodes where we discuss movies to watch in preparation for a new release hitting theaters. I got my buddy POPpaGoss on those each and every week. Those drop on Mondays at 6 a.m. Also, we have our Creators Conversations. This is where we're interviewing people from the business and beyond to discuss what they do to create and how they create their art. So be on the lookout for that on YouTube. We're also doing our monthly watch-alongs where we pick a movie to watch. We live stream our conversation while we're watching the film on YouTube. This week, we've got Yes Chef. We're inviting my friend Zeus Castillo to be a part of the podcast. We're going to be discussing Chef, Burnt, and Boiling Point, all in preparation for You, Me, and Tuscany hitting theaters Friday. We hope you also check out our website at moviesthatmakeyoupodcast.com. There you can see all of our social links. You can listen to the podcast. You can watch the podcast. We also have our merch store. You can find tons of merch for Movies That Make You and our friends. We also have a link to our letterbox where you can see all the movies that we watch in preparation for the new releases, but also the movies that make you laugh, the movies that make you cry, the movies that make you scream, and everything in between. So before we get to this week's episode, let's check out what we got coming up on the Movies That Make You podcast. Next week, we've got Mummy May I. We're inviting the Horror Cat Dad back to have a fun conversation about another Universal monster, the Mummy. We'll be discussing the original Mummy, the first Mummy with Brendan Fraser, and the Mummy with Tom Cruise. The week after that, Kristen's going to be on the show. We're going to all be discussing musician biopics in preparation for Michael being dropped in theaters that Friday. We'll be discussing I Want to Dance with Somebody, Ray, A Complete Unknown, Back to Black, and Springsteen. We hope you'll join us. The week after that, we're prepping for The Devil Wears Prada 2. Kristen's going to be back again. We'll be talking about a bunch of fashion movies such as Cruella, The Intern, Confessions of a Shopaholic, The Devil Wears Prada, and Legally Blonde. The week after that, we are kicking off Star Wars month with our first of 3 Star Wars episodes with Scott, Raymond, and Chris Valentine, who are going to be our experts for those weeks. May 4th, we've got the Animated Galaxy. We're going to be talking about all of the animated shows in preparation for the Darth Maul finale that drops that night. Hope those episodes excite you. So without further ado, let's get to the podcast. We are back with another episode of the Movies That Make You podcast. I am Sprang. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. POPpaGoss. What's up, buddy?
Hello, friends.
And we are super excited to have our first-time guest here today. He is a very good friend of mine. He is my inspiration when it comes to the gym. He is my wife's boss when it comes to the gym. And he is a former amazing chef. And it is Zeus Castillo. What's up, Jesus?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks
Zeus.
for having me
I mean,
on.
I never call you Jesus, but you got Jesus in your name, so I called you
Yeah,
Jesus.
I do, right? Yeah,
We normally go by Zeus. So
yeah, my
how's
real
it going,
name
buddy?
now. Yeah, good, man. Good. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, this is exciting. We are going to be talking about 3 different movies where chefing, cooking, the kitchen, running a restaurant, all those kind of things are all playing a part of the movie and the storyline. Because there's a movie called You, Me, and Tuscany that drops this Friday. It's an interesting story. It's kind of more of a love story. Girl ends up going to Tuscany and kind of living in this house of this guy that she met one time. Everybody thinks she's his fiance. So it's just kind of this kind of love story. The reason she wanted to go to Tuscany in the first place is because she loves cooking and she wants to be a professional chef. So we're going to be discussing Boiling Point. We're going to be discussing Burnt with Bradley Cooper, and we're going to be discussing Chef, written, directed, and starred in by Jon Favreau. So that's going to be what we're talking about today. But before we jump into that, we do like to kind of play catch up and kind of see how the week's going. Zeus, how has your week been? Anything fun happening this week?
Well, nothing much exciting. Just working out, running. I think I'm getting sick. I sound a little congested right now, but I hope that's not the case. But pretty easy week. There's plenty of coverage at work. Home's been easy week this week.
Good. That's awesome. And speaking of kind of the gym and your job, we just did the High Rocks day. Can you explain a little bit what High Rocks is and where it comes from?
Oh man, excellent question. So it's an event. It's the World Series of Fitness Racing. That's what they call themselves. So it's 8 stations, but you run 1 kilometer in between each station. So you start with a kilometer run, you run to the first station, which is a skier, and then you run another kilometer, and then it's a sled push, then the sled pull, and then you have the burpee broad jump, skier, farmer's carry, lunges, and then you finish with the wall balls. and a kilometer run in between each of those stations. It's gnarly, man. Yeah. So today's workout was tough for sure.
Yeah. I'm glad it wasn't that.
Yeah.
I was actually able to do the workout today, but that would have been that sounds crazy. I have to get the running up, that's for sure, because we've got the Spartan race coming up, and I have not run 1 inch of time, so we'll have to. But Kristen says she's going to go along with me, so
There
we
you
may be
go.
walking the whole thing. But I
It's
but
gonna be a
I'll do
great time.
everything that I can to make it a fun event. But Josh, how about you, man? How's your week been?
Just been getting caught up for the week. My son was sick 2 weeks ago and then had spring break last week, so he's technically kind of been off school for a couple of weeks now. And he has all his therapies and stuff like normal. He got a new ABA therapist, the one that's been with us for a few years now. She went on to something else. So he's got a new male teacher, which is cool, a really nice guy. So this is his first week with Lennon, and then yeah, just been I put out a couple of things on my channel, and then I've just been behind the scenes trying to get some stuff for the podcast going, and we'll make an announcement soon, but we have some pretty stellar news about the podcast, so stay tuned for that because it's one of the most excited times I've ever had in my life. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, other than that, just kind of hanging out. We're slowly repainting room by room in our house. So I went and got some more paint today while Lennon was at therapy for a few hours, and it's a good workout for sure.
Yeah.
Exerted a lot of energy. So, yeah. But other than that, just kind of watching some movie or trying to watch movies to go to
Hmm.
bed at night and stuff, and kind of trying to not stress or anything,
Yeah, for
the
sure.
normal stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, just normal life stuff for sure.
Yeah. Exactly.
Uh, yeah, same here. Everything's kind of rocking and rolling right now. Podcast is going well as far as scheduling, our guests and recording the episodes. That's been fun. It's rocking. Excited for the next couple weeks. It's kind of wild, but we've got some really cool guests. We've got really cool episodes. We got really cool creator conversations that have been happening. So it's been a really really fun time. Um, and though a part of that is just me kind of getting some time to watch the movies in preparation. But outside of that, I did get to go on Tuesday. I looked at the times, and there was enough time in the movie time show time start times that I was able to do a double feature on Tuesday night. So I did. I started with The Bride, and then I ended with Undertone,
Nice.
and they were both solid films. I enjoyed them both. I can see the complaints that people are making about The Bride, and understand where they're coming from. I still had a good time with it, and I think the performances by Christian Bale and Jesse Buckley are just awesome and worth the price of admission. And then Undertone was a really, really good like indie horror film. Like I say what I expected only because it's A24 and I expect high things from A24, right? And so I got everything that I wanted out of that movie. It was scary, it was creepy, it was intense. I found myself like tensing up for a lot of the movie. I even thought Christian might have walked out of it. That's how like scary it was but it wasn't scary demons and like coming at you and jump scares, and you didn't even see a creature at all. Like there was nothing like that. It was just the tone of the film was so perfectly scary that it kind of that was enough. They really definitely leveraged, with it being about audio podcast and the undertone being the title, they're definitely kind of leaning into that audible horror element. And so the sounds of the film are what really kind of get you. And again, not jump sounds, but it's just the sounds, the eeriness, the voices that she hears and things like that that just kind of add this scary element to it. And it peaks at the right time, and everything. So definitely go check out Undertone if you can. Catch it on physical media, digital media, whatever, when it's out. It's worth the time. So
Nice.
Very cool. Well, let's jump into it. The first one we're going to talk about today is Boiling Point. Zeus, you brought this to our attention. I had another movie. I had Ratatouille on the docket to talk about because that's another movie about chefing. But you mentioned Boiling Point, and so I subbed it out, and I really enjoyed this, man. Share a little bit about what made you kind of think Boiling Point was something we should talk about.
It was very, very realistic. In a sense where like the chef is getting always getting pulled. He's just trying to cook, get the night done, finish his task, but he's always getting pulled to the side for some other, in his eyes, nuisance, right? Like it could be taken care of, but that's very realistic. All the emotions, the camaraderie, all of that is very, very on point with that movie. And just the way the camera follows everybody around, it just adds to the realism. Like you're walking through there, you know? Yeah, it's a really
Yeah,
good movie. It's
absolutely.
emotion. There are a lot of
Uh,
emotions in it too. They were able to project those emotions through film, which is something that really touched me too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, for those of you that want to check this movie out, this one is all one shot. Like literally, they shot it with one take, one camera, the whole movie. Really powerful performances. And you heard it here first. You know, it's super realistic. It's exactly what chefs and people that work in the restaurant industry go through. So one of the things where uh, the one of the key points of Boiling Point was that there is an inspection that started it out, right? An inspection, a specter came in and then kind of demotes them. Like how like awful would that be to a restaurant in real life? Jeez.
As soon as you're about to open, that's the worst. That's the worst thing you can happen. That's an inspector has come to my kitchen once before we were trying to open. Everything was good. They were just trying to get us for a hole in the wall or something that was facing the outside wall. Nothing serious, but they were there like right before dinner service at 5 o'clock. But for all the stuff they got jotted down for, that's insane. They made him throw away the fish, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was just the
Oh,
turbot.
because it
Yeah,
wasn't
they made him
labeled. Yeah.
because it wasn't labeled. Yeah, that's just horrible, man. Walking into
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Like walking in, I mean, he's already stressed, you can tell by, being on the phone, talking to trying to leave a message for his son or whatever. But yeah, it's good
and
stuff.
also
Josh,
and
what are
also
some of your, oh, go ahead, John. Yeah.
no, sorry, so yeah, he was the one that didn't label it. So on top of that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought the dynamics between, I mean, you kind of said it, like the camaraderie, but then there's also the dynamics of the different people that are working in the kitchen and their personalities are on full display, and each of them have their own way of interacting with the chef, interacting with the hosts, and also the sous chef and all that stuff. So, Josh, what are some of your thoughts on Boiling Point?
Yeah, I mean, you guys covered the important stuff, but yeah, it's just a very real and raw feeling film. Not that Chef and Burnt that we're going to talk about next aren't real feeling because like they obviously are. It's movies and they do a good job of doing that. But this one just has, I think, because of the way it's shot, it has that more, interactive feeling almost where you're walking with everybody and following like, especially like the main characters, you're following them around. Stephen Graham's obviously been getting bigger and bigger. I'm pretty sure we're gonna see him in a lot more movies and TV shows coming up. Philip Barantini, who directed this, he actually did the TV show Adolescence, which Stephen Graham just won a primetime Emmy award for, and it was nominated for a bunch of Emmys as well. And then there's a character in the movie. Hannah Walters. She plays Emily, and her and Stephen Graham are actually married in real life to
Nice.
each other, which is kind of fun. And the show it's filmed in one take, but they originally apparently had like done. I think they had it to 4 takes or maybe 4 or 5 takes. But then the pandemic, they started making it during the pandemic, and so like right when everybody got out of the pandemic, they didn't have the time for people to be like around each other all the time. So they took it down to I believe 2 takes.
Gotcha.
So they shortened it so that people weren't on in the same room as much, just for safety reasons. But yeah, it's just a very real feeling movie. Stephen Graham is a very talented actor. There's a TV show by the same name, and it has the same similar cast. It's almost the same identical cast.
Yeah.
And I think it's also done by Philip Barantini as well. So
Yeah, it's a
um,
direct sequel. So
yeah.
the end of this movie
Oh, okay, cool.
ends in a pretty dramatic fashion. I don't want to give it away, but then the show picks up, and there a lot of the kitchen is at a new restaurant. The sous chef is now the head chef, and then they're trying to figure out how to make it work. Drama, 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 and then they're trying. There's also this kind of relationship with Stephen that's in it too. So I
Yeah, I
actually
haven't.
started watching the show, not realizing there was a movie. I was like, "Oh, it's just 4 episodes. I'll knock it out." And
Yeah.
then Zeus reminded me, "No, there's a movie too." So I watched the movie and saw it that way. Yeah,
I also wanted to say I do like how there's that scene, well, there's a few scenes in the movie, but where between like two different characters, and it like very realistic to like what probably, stuff goes on outside of working in a restaurant and there's very like serious personal things like the young kid in the movie. Um I don't know if that's his mom in the movie or his aunt or just a coworker, but she sees that he cut his wrists or whatever.
mm,
He has like scars on his wrist, and they stop for what they're doing for a second. It's a very like serious moment, but very heartfelt, and great performance by both of them in that scene. But yeah, it's like it's not just focused on the
hmm
life of like working in a restaurant. It's, stuff happens in a fast paced environment and you still have time to like care for your fellow man and woman. So I thought that was really a nice touch.
yeah, absolutely. Another one of the major conflict moments in the movie is that the chef that was his mentor at some point is now a famous TV chef, and he's coming tonight to the restaurant to taste his food, but also it feels like to criticize his food. Not only that, but he brings a woman with him that's also a food critic and is eating there with him. And Steven's character is like, "What? Why would you do this? Why would he do this to me tonight? Of all nights." So how impactful was it when you guys knew that there were critics coming? Did you know that they were coming? And if you found out, like, how stressful would that be in the restaurant, in the kitchen?
At the sauce place we were at, we would always know the guests by their name because they would RSVP. So we would know like social media influence and stuff like that. So we would always take care. I mean, you take care of all the food, right? Extra care for these people, and the tension's definitely high because they have major influence on anything they say. It's like an influence, right? So you definitely want to take care of all those people. So the tensions are high for sure.
Sure, absolutely. Um, and so one of the characters that I thought was like I didn't think he should have a place at a 5-star restaurant was Jake, because he was showing up late. He was, messing around on the job. He was taking a break, taking too much time, like all that stuff. At a 5-star restaurant, I definitely would not have expected to see somebody that was a slacker. I feel like everybody at that restaurant is on point, but am I right in that, or even at 5-star restaurants, do you still have some slackers?
No, you're right and wrong. Like obviously that's like typical dishwasher behavior, like la di la di la, life,
Yeah,
we live it, so that's definitely typical dishwasher behavior, but at a five-star restaurant, probably not. But you should see there's some there's a lot of stuff dishwashers get away with just because they're essential.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, you gotta have them. You gotta have clean
You got
dishes for sure.
they make those kind of people, those kind of dishwashers make the day sometimes,
Yeah.
but not
One
acceptable
other thing
behavior.
I wanted exactly, exactly. One of the other things I did want to mention, kind of in this movie in particular, what it was relates to the restaurant itself, is it seems like in this restaurant, different than like Burnt and Chef, there was this tension or this kind of like wall between front of house, like the host and the waitresses, and then the chef in the kitchen. It feels like there was like some, and I think probably because part of it was that her dad owned the place, and so there's probably this kind of like power thing going on there. And then there's that one point where there's like the sous chef basically yells at her, and then they yell at each other, and then it's kind of like this break, and then it's like, oh, we need to grab coffee this week, and we really need to kind of work this out, which I thought was nice to have some resolution. It was mature of them. But is that a common thing to where you have the front of house people talking trash about the kitchen and the kitchen talking trash about the front of house people?
Yes, yes. To answer the question for the majority, yes. But it's all communication, right? And it always breaks down to like, are we communicating well as a team? So when the communication doesn't happen, that's when those tensions build up. Like for example, you saw the substitution, which it was in the RSVP, but she forgot it, and she just wrote it down on a piece of paper and gave it to the kitchen. Like that's not how you do it. You it's got to be in the receipt. It's got to be on the ticket, and that's when tensions start to build, and you start playing the blame game. It was you. No, it was you. It just that doesn't resolve anything, right? But yeah, it's pretty common, man. It's a thing,
Yeah, it's
unfortunately.
a human condition. I think at times is that we even have it somewhat in the mortgage industry. The people that are the salespeople, not that they talk trash, but there's this tension between them and then the processing, underwriting, closing. It's like we're two sides. We both need each other for this thing to work. But there's always like, oh, if we did it this way, it'd be better. Oh, if we did it this way, it'd be better. So there's always that. That's kind of the human element too. And the other thing that kind of comes to mind is to have a really successful restaurant and for all those things to be clicking. Like another metaphor that comes to mind is like an orchestra, and everybody's playing their part, everybody's playing their notes. So in a restaurant, who's the conductor? Is it the host? Is the restaurant owner, or is the chef? I would guess it would be different in different contexts. But what would you say is the key conductor of this whole event, which is the restaurant and the meal that these people are coming to? Who's the conductor of that orchestra?
As far as food in the back of the house, the executive chef, right? The chef. And then as far as front of the house, I would say the GM. He's in charge of, the managers, the floor managers, the hosts, the servers. He's in charge of all, well, he's in charge of the people that are in charge of that. So in order to make it work properly, the executive chef has to get in line with the GM. That way they educate each other on what's on the menu, what's not on the menu, what's how are we gonna flow things tonight if we're doing a special event? So as long as it's a
Yeah.
lot of over communication in order for it to be like perfectly orchestrated. And we've had some nights like that where everything was just went super smooth. Like we knocked it out, and then we've had some nights where it's like, well, no, it's your fault. No, it's your fault because it went like this. And it's like, so yeah, so it's as long as everything is properly communicated, like you said, it's gonna be one perfect orchestra.
Yeah. That's awesome. Josh, anything more about Boiling Point?
Yeah, it's a really great film, so appreciate Zeus recommending that one.
Absolutely. Before we move on to the next film, Zeus, I did want to just kind of talk to you a little bit about your time as a chef. If you don't mind sharing just kind of a little bit about your story of chefing and where you learned and where you worked, for our audience, that'd be great.
Yeah, of
Whatever you
course.
feel comfortable with sharing.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, it all started with like, I was looking for a job. I think I was like 18, 19, and it was a cook position. I never cooked, but I lied my way through it. So I got the cooking job. I skipped dishwashing, so I did that for a while. It was at a pizza place called OG's Pizza in San Diego. They have chains all over San Diego. And then after that, it was too far. So I was driving all the way north, probably like 30 miles. And then I got another job in downtown. I did start dishwashing there. This is like 1920, 2020, yeah, like 20. I was 20 years old. So then I got that dishwashing job eventually there, down at the glass store in Little Italy. Eventually there, I moved up, eventually running the kitchen, left there. I was there for like 5 years, 6 years. Eventually left from dishwasher to leading the kitchen. And then my other buddy got a job at a food truck job, and he hired me as a sous chef. I was already like 25. Yeah, like 25 at the time. So I was at that second restaurant for a while. So he got a sous chef job at a food truck, which is funny because we're going to talk about chef later, right? He got a job at a food
Yeah.
truck. So I started working on a food truck, and I eventually just stayed on food trucks for a while there. I went from there. It was Green Truck. They have a chain. They're not a chain, but they're a franchise out of LA because LA has a Green Truck, Los Angeles. So then that turned into Harvest Kitchen because the owner he bought out. He bought out, or the franchise contract was up, so he started his own catering company. And I was with him for a while, like 4 years. Then from there, an acquaintance met through a friend. I met this guy. He bought out a food truck. He hired me, so I was a head chef at that truck. We were. It was this is now 2020, so during the pandemic. So speed things
Mhm.
up. Now we're at the pandemic. So we had a contract for FEMA. We were handing out bowls of food for like 250 people 7 days a week for COVID. Can't leave their house. Yeah, and then from there, my last job, now 2023, 22, 23, I get a job at the Shell, the Rady Shell down at behind the convention center. So it's this new orchestra, talking about orchestras earlier, bringing it back. The San Diego Symphony, sorry, the San Diego Symphony Hall. So that's where they get the pre-made dinners and everything. And we had dinner service there. It was a Richard Blais restaurant. So um he's out on TV. He's a TV personality too. And that was the last. That was a serious. That was one of the serious executive chef job I had right there.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really awesome.
I know that was a
To go
long
from
story.
No, it was a great
No,
story.
I love it. Yeah.
19, 20 years old, you're gonna be a cook. You skip the dishwashing, so you're a cook. You don't know how to cook, but then
Yeah,
like 5, 6, 8, 10 years later, now you're sticking working with a television personality chef at a huge restaurant at a huge venue.
yeah,
That's incredible, man. That's incredible. So, what
right.
would you say? What was like some of your favorite dishes to make, or your favorite things to do in the
Oh
kitchen?
man. Well, back in the day, we used to make a lot of pasta from scratch. I really like making tortellinis. It just takes a lot of technique folding that noodle. So I enjoyed making that. And gnocchi. I enjoy making pasta. That's one of the things I enjoy making. As far as a dish, I like anything Asian, man. Anything Asian. Yeah. I made you that papaya salad that one time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing you say about tortellinis, that's one of my favorite. I don't choose Italian a lot, but when I do, like one place comes to mind. In Rowlett, we had a guy that a restaurant we'd go to every once in a while, and we had him cater a thing that we did at our church. It was a youth event. And it was like a sit at the tables, and the youth are going to do their talent stuff for you. And this is a big fundraiser for our youth department. And so we had it catered by this Italian restaurant down the road, Casa Nostra. And so he had like two major dishes that he brought, two big pans, or two different dishes, as many pans as I can't remember, but at the end of the night, like I didn't eat the whole night, and at the end of the night, they made me a plate. So when I got home, I ate it, and I sat there and I was like, I'm just gonna eat like half of it, and I sat there and ate the whole thing. I was just, this is
Yeah,
amazing.
man.
Well,
Yeah,
the next
man.
time I go to his restaurant, I'm like, hey, what's that thing that you made for the thing? Oh, that's not on the menu. I'm
Ah,
like, can you make it for me? Is that
yeah.
okay? And he's like, yeah, I got you. So then, like, anytime we went to that restaurant, I always felt like I was super special because the chef would just make me my own dish that's not on the menu.
Right.
Then he opened up a new restaurant down the road, and it wasn't on the menu there, and it was a little bit bigger, a little nicer. Like that was a hole in the wall kind of situation. But yeah, the other bigger spot, I didn't feel like like
Yeah.
putting him on the spot and asking him to make me something special. But yeah, that's tortellini. It was a tortellini. I think it was like a chicken something tortellini with
Oh, nice.
spicy, like kind of uh like cheese, like a Alfredo type spicy sauce. It's really, really good. So
That's
and I
awesome.
know Kristen's getting really hungry hearing me talk about all this food.
Yeah, right. Who wouldn't?
uh Yeah, exactly. Um, well, cool. Let's go ahead and jump into Burnt. Burnt
Mm,
starring Bradley Cooper. He's a chef that he was at a really top-notch restaurant, ends up doing something that basically destroys the restaurant, hurts relationships. He also is a drug addict, and he ends up actually spending time in jail. The movie kind of starts with him being released from prison, and now he's gonna try to come back and have his comeback tour. He basically tricks everybody, like does all this kind of dark, like not dark stuff, but he does like all this kind of shady stuff to kind of get himself to be the head chef at this new restaurant. They close down, they reopen with him. He kind of gets the ragtag group of, that was kind of a fun montage of him like trying to get all the different people he wanted to work in the kitchen. He wants to get his Michelin star. He builds up, and then something crazy happens at the end that kind of is my life changing. It destroys him, but then he's like, you know what? Now I know the real purpose of this is just to make food and have fun, right? Like just enjoy what we're doing, work together. He learns a lesson. You know, he was trying to seek that Michelin star, and then he realized, you know what? I really just need to make good food and just enjoy what I'm doing. And that's kind of, I'd say, the short version of Burnt. But there's a lot of other stuff in that. Zeus, do you have any thoughts about the movie Burnt that you wanted to share?
Oh, it's a like you said, it's a good movie about like just him falling in love with his passion back again. It was a good movie, man. It was uh a lot a lot of it they try to like fantasize, like glamorous lifestyle, all this stuff, like walking in all cool and stuff. Sometimes it's not like that, so that's they kind of made it a little too glamorous. It's pretty
Got it.
it's spot on too, yeah, man.
Yeah, I thought one of the interesting things about that one was new menus. You know, we got to get a new menu. And then that kind of made me think of The Bear, where in one of the seasons of The Bear, he decides like they're about to open and he shows up the first day and they're like, we're going to have a new menu every day. So everybody in the kitchen's like, what? You know, like, and so then that season was like a lot of tension with him and everybody else because it's like he's had this vision to. So, how often in a really nice restaurant, how often do you change the menu?
Typically seasonally, like so it's
Okay.
spring menu, summer menu, fall menu, and then a winter menu for sure. So like seasonally, and then usually there's always two, three rotating items at all times for sure.
Okay.
Restaurants try to go with I mean, a lot of like you were saying, fancy like top of the line restaurants, they try to go with what's in season, what's trending.
Yeah. Yeah, probably to make sure that you're actually using fresh ingredients and not, frozen ingredients or things that have just been, fabricated. You're using stuff that's like super fresh. They'll probably have it sourced from somewhere locally so that it's not like refrigerated across the country, that kind of stuff. I can imagine that being a big deal for sure.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things that stood out to me about Burnt was the new technology. That was kind of a big major thing. He was one of the stick to kind of the old way that he used to do things. And then this female chef that he brings on, she's like, you got to get out of your head on this, and we've got to start using the technology of the sous vide, the water, cooking your meat in the water, your food in the water, and then you finish it on the grill, on whatever. Did you guys use a sous vide in the restaurant that you were at?
Oh yeah, man, sous vide's great. It cuts your work in half. I mean, granted, you do have to put a little work into it, but once it's time to perform and it's service time and you're putting the food out, like boom, dude, like it's already hot with the grill marks on it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
flavored because you put like rosemary and stuff in there. So I'm all for sous vide. It's a no-brainer if you have that kind of money.
Yeah. And what's crazy is I think I actually have a sous vide. I have two.
Nice.
I've used them. One of my friends got one, and I think they I had never heard about them until about the time this movie came out, and I think this movie had something to do with the fact that they started to want to make kind of consumer versions of this like restaurant only device, because you can get them now for like $100 or less. Like at Target, you can get one, and you can go, you can practice like the chefs do. It's really handy because it's like you can. The thing, what we found is in our house, we have to the thing that's not handy is you have to be thinking ahead and you have to find, oh yeah, I've got to put the food in the sous vide so that it's ready in an hour and a half or 2 hours. Whereas in a restaurant, you always have food doing that. When you're working from home, it's like you got meetings, and then it's dinner time. It's like, well, I forgot to put the food in the sous vide. Well, let's just go to the store and get some fresh food then instead of the frozen food. But yeah, the sous vide has been was kind of a nice thing to use, and trying to figure out how to make something that's unique and that tastes good and feeling like you're getting that kind of that restaurant quality food at home. So it's cool. Another thing that was in this movie was the competition between the restaurants and the chefs. Is it normal to kind of be competing against other restaurants?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, totally. There's definitely competition. Like back in San Diego, I'm sure here too in Dallas, there's restaurant groups that own like, a handful of restaurants throughout San Diego, and everyone's for the most part the camaraderie is tight, right? Like the chef community is tight, but there is like, oh, what are they doing? Okay, how can we do it better? You know what I mean? Like so
Mm,
there's definitely
yeah.
that competition right there.
And then like the it felt like that the chef he was competing against, he opened and nobody showed up. And so then he's like, well, we got to reopen and do a new open. It
Oh,
was
like
like, felt like we're just, yeah, rechanging,
reconcept.
rebranding the restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah,
How often does
yeah.
that happen? I mean, or is that glamorized for the movie?
No, I think it's glamorized in the movie for sure. I've seen it once. All of a sudden they closed out and then they reopened with the new concept. It was in North Park. Yeah, like it's a little glamorized. That's a lot of money
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
for all my assets are invested in this or something like that. Yeah, he was pretty pissed.
Yeah,
Right.
something.
Yeah. It's crazy. Crazy. Cool. Well, POPpaGoss, man, what's some of your thoughts on Burnt?
Yeah, Burnt is it's really well made. It actually, I'll get into it in a sec, but it actually has ties a little bit to Chef, which we're going to talk about next. But it was directed by John Wells, huge in the TV industry, especially as a writer. He's been nominated for I think like 29 or 30 primetime Emmys. He actually has a Hollywood Walk of Fame star on the TV Walk of Fame version. He used to be the president of the WGA, the Writers Guild of America. But he's worked on ER, West Wing, The Pit. He's killing it with The Pit right now. He's one of the main writers for that show. He also did August Osage County, which got two Academy Award nominee for Best Actress and Supporting Actress for Julia Roberts and Meryl Streep. So yeah, I mean, he's pretty solid as a writer for sure, and then as a director, he's good too. Bradley Cooper actually wasn't the first choice. The movie, I guess the movie was worked on as a they were gonna greenlight it, a long time before that happened, or at least a few years before they finally made this version. But it was gonna be directed by David Fincher, actually, and it was gonna star Keanu Reeves instead of Bradley Cooper. But then they went through some changes and all that. I think Fincher dropped out. He normally does that when he's attached to something and then he doesn't show up. It's either they didn't give him enough money, enough time, or it's just something else comes along that he wants to work on. Bradley Cooper trained with Claire Smith, who is a three-time Michelin star winner. She's the executive chef for the London version of Gordon Ramsay's restaurant. So she's like the head executive chef there. Um, and the actors and actresses in the movie, they actually had some of the background actors in the kitchen scenes were like real life chefs. So they put a lot of pressure on the actual cast members to like do well and get stuff in a line and like do it
The
as
real way.
accurately as
Yeah.
possible. And they worked with real, you know, dangers like a real grill and sharp knives everywhere, and like they set it up as realistic as a kitchen could possibly be, just for the actors and actresses' sake. We get Bradley Cooper and Sienna Miller pair up again. They were in American Sniper as husband and wife, the Clint Eastwood movie, um, based on a true story. So that was nice to see them together again, even though I mean they do date in the film, but yeah, it's two completely different characters
Yeah.
from playing American Sniper. Um, I mean, a stacked cast. The cast in this, I saw it when it first came out, and I remember it being really good. and then I watched it again to prep for this, and I forgot how many like
Right.
talented people were in it. We have Daniel Bruhl. We got obviously Sienna Miller. I just said Matthew Rice, who is like that guy's on another level as an actor. Emma Thompson, Uma Thurman, Alicia Vikander. I forgot she was in
Yeah,
it.
I did
And I
too.
also was after I rewatched it, I was like, where did she go? Because she was like an Oscar winner, and then she just kind of disappeared.
Mhm.
But she's really talented. But yeah, going back to how it's tied to Chef. Originally, the movie was called Chef, but John Favreau was already working on um, Chef when they announced this movie. Sony, who owned Burnt at the time, that were calling it Chef, they sent a cease and desist to John Favreau actually, for whatever, and obviously it got rejected. And then Sony and the Weinstein Company changed the name to Adam Jones, which is his character name, and then they finally changed it to Burnt, which was the final name of the film. But yeah, so they had a little bit of a legal battle going on with Chef and Burnt at the same time because they were trying to name the same title,
Yeah,
which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I think
that's
it all
wild.
worked out for both movies in the end. But yeah, kind of a little bit of tension
Yeah, that's crazy that, you had 2 studios trying to, kinda fight for the
with
same
the
movie
same
name.
same
I've
title. Yeah.
seen I've seen, movies that come out and they're the same, like, story, like you
Hmm.
got Armageddon and Deep Impact. You've got, The Prestige and The Illusionist. So you got these movies that are, like, almost the same kind of premise, but I've never heard of, like, the same movie being titled or a movie being titled the
Right.
same thing in the
Yeah.
same year. That's wild.
Well, and it's just like Chef. Well, even the word burnt is like those are just simple straightforward
Yeah.
titles. So like I find it crazy that like two, pretty big studios were both like, let's name it Chef. Like we
Yeah.
can't name it anything else. There's no other titles that come even like a
Right.
pun. You don't have like
Right.
another pun name or. But
Well, I
yeah,
think
it's
I
just
think Burnt fits better,
yeah,
for
for
this
sure.
movie with his, like, he gets burnt. At the beginning, he had been burnt, he gets burnt in the middle, and then there's this
Hmm.
kind of, like, resolution at the end, so I get where I get they
Yeah,
they
for
they
sure.
landed on a good one there.
Well, and it didn't get any Academy Award nominations, but it's definitely like an Academy Award level film. Like,
Yeah,
Bradley's always
quality, yep.
very solid in everything he does. He takes it very serious, and obviously he comes from a directing background now too, as a well-respected director. So I'm sure doing any role that he does now, he takes it pretty serious. So
Yeah,
it's good.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that kinda brings us to the last one we're gonna talk about today, but before we get to that, I have some more questions for you, Zeus.
Yeah, let's
You
go.
ready? Off the cuff. So, where is it that you found your love for movies? Do you have a movie you remember that was like, "That made me wanna, like, watch movies"? Was it a person, a family member? Give us a little bit of history of your love for movies.
Well, for sure, my grandfather was always watching movies. I have some of his VHSs, like Saving Private Ryan, Act of Malice, or what's it called? Something Malice. I have a few of them, but they came from my grandpa for sure. Like I would watch his Pearl Harbor VHS. It was a two set.
Yeah.
So, but definitely the movie has to, don't laugh at Men in Black with
Nice.
Will
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Smith, Tommy Lee
Yeah.
Jones. Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to watch that on repeat, and Edward Scissorhands. Those two
Okay.
movies.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. I mean, I think, how old were you probably when Men in Black? I mean, you were still pretty young, right?
I was young. I can't remember how old I was, but I got it
Yeah.
for Christmas one year.
Yeah.
VHS.
Dude, that's the best. I mean, because it's like that's a movie that hits on a lot of levels. Like it hits on some action. You got some sci-fi because it's aliens, and it's got so much humor. It really
Mhm.
was kind of one of those kind of four spectrum movies where it just hits all the audiences because it's approachable and likable. And Will Smith was likable at that point. Tommy Lee Jones was likable at that point. So that no judgment here, man. That's one of our
Yeah, my
we
my
love that
brother and
movie
I
too.
we used to put that VHS on to go to sleep. Like we had a little one of those TVs that had a VCR in the TV, those little mini
Hmm.
ones. And we'd go. There were a few VHS that we would just. I mean, we'd seen them so many times we would just go to sleep. But I remember falling asleep to like the beginning of Men in Black quite often. I'm seeing the scroll and like Danny Elfman did the music, so you'd see like Danny Elfman's name, and then that bug like flying around in the desert or whatever. But yeah, that's a fun one. I know. I
Yeah.
mean, even the second one was really good, and I only saw the third one when it first came out, so I need to rewatch it. But I remember it being fine. So
Yeah. And then they
I
did a
think it.
fourth one, which is like the Men in Black
Oh
universe or
right,
something
with
with
Chris Hemsworth and
and Tessa Thompson.
yeah, that one was
Yeah.
fun. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't. I think so many of us thought, "What can you do without, Will
Yeah.
Smith and Tommy Lee Jones?"
Yeah.
So I think that kind of made
Well,
it
I
not as popular. But
and I think they were like the people making the movie were probably like really excited because they just had such
right,
great chemistry in Ragnarok.
yeah,
They're like, "Oh,
yeah,
this is gonna be the best," and then it just didn't pan out that way. But no, that's cool, man. Those are some good movies. I mean, and then you kind of go on another spectrum because Men in Black is super approachable. Edward Scissorhand is super weird and like off in left field. Tim
love it.
Burton, Johnny Depp, like the origins of their like weird, like we're gonna make movies that are just weird and we're just gonna act like they're normal. So that's pretty cool. Are there any other Tim Burton movies that you gravitate towards also, or Johnny Depp?
Oh yeah, Johnny Depp's Secret Window for sure.
Oh,
That's
nice.
another.
Nice.
Yeah, that's another. He just goes crazy in that movie.
Yeah,
He plays such a good character for
yeah,
sure.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I always think, man, I remember him being on 21 Jump Street before I could watch 21 Jump
Right.
Street. I remember him being, and every time, and then of course Friday, not Friday
Nightmare on
at
Elm Street.
13th, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
That was kind of his first movie role, and so he kind of hit it big with a huge TV show, a huge horror movie, and then he kind of was able to kind of ride that for
Still
sure.
one of the best deaths in a horror movie
Yeah,
ever. Well, and the
absolutely.
practicality that they did to make that scene happen. Yeah, Wes Craven talks about it on like bonus feature interviews, but his he didn't know who Johnny Depp was. I mean, he moved to LA to be in a band, and then like he got the 21 Jump Street thing. He did some modeling, whatever, and he was becoming a teen heartthrob from 21 Jump Street. And Wes Craven's daughter, when he was casting Nightmare on Elm Street, she was like, "You should look at this guy, Johnny Depp, for the boyfriend or whatever." Wes Craven's like, "I'm not look." He's like, well, "Who's that? I don't know who that is." And then little would he know, like
Yeah,
he'd be one of the biggest people in Hollywood like ever. So
it's wild.
it's fun. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a fun. It's cool that he like started back then.
absolutely. Well, let's jump into it. Thank you, Zeus, for giving us insights into your history and all that stuff. I love it.
Yeah, that was
Um,
awesome.
Of
and
course, man.
let's hit up Chef, man. I remember this movie came out. I remember it coming out in the theaters, and I remember hearing lots of great things about it. Jon Favreau directed, written it, and then acted in it. And I hadn't seen it since I'd seen it the first time, but I rewatched it for this and just fell in love with it all again. Just a great story about a chef, an executive chef that has it, you know, has a tough time with his GM, or the restaurant owner, Dustin Hoffman, and he ends up leaving. And then he just decides, you know what, I'm gonna try the food truck thing. His ex-wife is like, you should try the food truck thing. So he decides he's gonna do it, kind of go back to his roots of just making stuff that tastes good, and kind of ends up ends up bringing his son along too, and they kind of had difficulty in their life because he was living with his mom and he only got him every once in a while, and so this gave him a time to like kind of work on their relationship, and he wants to work in the food truck as well. So just so much great like fun food, fun relationship stuff, good tension, and then good resolution, good kind of heart and growth from all the characters, and it's got Sofia Vergara in it as well as the ex-wife, and then John Leguizamo as his buddy. I mean, just so perfect, so perfect. Um,
Yeah.
Zeus, well, let's start with you, man. How is Chef? What are some things you liked about Chef?
Oh, that was such a fun movie, man. I enjoyed watching that. I've definitely watched it more than a couple of times, more than a handful of times, even before this podcast. But it's a fun movie, man. It's every chef's dream. You're sick and tired of working where you're working because you got to follow certain guidelines. You say screw it, you quit that same day. That's it. That's what every chef wants to do. You know, you just quit, walk out, and then you go home and post all these pictures and you get your own food truck. That's the dream right there. That's the goal. So I really enjoyed it, man. It was a great film. Like you said, John Favreau directed it and he acted in it. So that means he put a lot of passion into this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I liked one of the lines was, "I'm a chef. Can you see me driving a food truck?" You know? So I can imagine that there are some chefs out there that probably have that kind of like we were talking about the front of house and the kitchen, that kind of like wall that between there. I'm sure there's some chef that have that kind of, they look down on the food truck chefs, or is it the opposite, kind of based on what you mentioned, that they might want to secretly want to be a food truck?
Yeah, right. No, definitely. Just depends what you're serving, right? There's some badass food trucks. Can I say that? There's some pretty cool food
Heck
trucks out there.
yeah.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool food trucks out there where they're serving up some really good food and they got a good following. So, but then there's those roach coaches, right? And then that's when you got those chefs where like I'm not you don't see me, you're not gonna see me in a food truck ever. So I'm assuming those are the kind of people food trucks they're talking about. But there's some food trucks putting out some really good food out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there's one, I haven't had it yet, but I wanna have it. It's like a lobster roll food truck in Dallas, and I I just wanna, I love the idea of a lobster roll. I think I've only had one time, and I just, but it's like a famous, at least it's got like award-winning, food truck kind of situation, so I know that there's a place down in Dallas that does, they have like food trucks go out there on like Saturday or whatever, and they're all parked around the park, David Hydewarn Park or something like that. So every once in a while, we've gone out there a couple times for some different things. But yeah, food trucks are definitely a fun vibe, because it's like, it feels like the modern day outdoor mall food court, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like, if you get a bunch of them, it's like anybody can get what they want, you know? And so and if you wanna have a little bit of lobster roll and you wanna have a slice, like, you can do it. Or if you want a burger and you want, fried chicken, like, you can just, like, whatever you're craving, you can get it if there's, like, one of those food truck alleys or whatever. But yeah, that was one of my other questions too, like, you talk about the freedom of the kitchen, the freedom of being able to be your own person. That's kind of what he said. You mentioned it before about the GM and the executive chef being on the same page. The movie starts with him coming in, having this huge excitement, this passionate, like, I've got an idea for the menu. This is going to be amazing. And he's excited. He's getting his crew all into it. They're all buying into it. They're all getting excited. They're ready to go. And the owner comes in and says, "You know what? Let's just do the things you're great at, you know?" And it kind of builds this tension again with a food critic and him, this kind of, that like they're butt heads because he's just doing the favorites as opposed to being creative. Um, did you feel like in some of the spots where you worked, did you feel like you had some creativity? And do you have a moment where you were like, I got to do something really unique and provide my own spin on this dish?
Yeah, there's definitely some places where the own obviously, going back to the owner has a vision. They have a vision of what they want to serve, how they want to serve it, and it's ultimately is their money, so you gotta do what they say sometimes, right? And then I've been at places where there's a good compromise, and then I've been at places where the freedom is there. I can, as long as I'm using a certain kind of produce and I'm sticking seasonally, like I'm free to do whatever I want. And then I've been at places where you have to submit it, wait for approval, and then you can run it. So it just depends on how big the corporation, the restaurant is, and the smaller it is, the more freedom. In my experience, the smaller the scale, the most freedom you get for sure.
Well, cool. Like, Josh, what you got, man? What you got about Chef?
Yeah, Chef's I mean, it's one of my favorite movies that revolves around food. I definitely don't watch it on an empty stomach, along with all these films, but I remember the first time I watched it, I think I was still at the video store, and I took it home, and I hadn't eaten dinner and we put it on at like 10 o'clock at night and nothing's really open that late. So we were just like, man, we gotta go get some food because like we watched my old roommate and I watched it together and we were both like, oh my God, all that food looks so good. But it's just really well made. I mean, Favreau, if you're gonna have somebody direct a movie like this, I feel like Favreau's pretty darn good, a good choice. Um, we also get a reunited Iron Man. We get Robert Downey Jr. and John
Yeah.
Favreau, who John Favreau kicked off the Marvel cinematic universe with the first Iron Man movie. Scarlett Johansson is in this movie. She was also in that as well. So yeah, it's kind of fun. They got to work
Yeah.
together again. Robert Downey plays a ridiculous character in this movie, but he's only in it for like one scene. But
And knowing their relationship, he didn't give him a script.
yeah,
He didn't give
well,
him
and
any point. He just said, "Robert,
exactly.
can you just come?" And they just kinda, with the stories of how Iron Man 1 was made,
Well, and it's kinda it reminds you of, like, Happy and,
yeah,
Tony Stark, like, it's
yeah,
pretty their scene that they have together, but even more
so great.
ridiculous than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just really well made. Favreau trained with, the famous food truck chef, Roy Choi. And he had to go through a week-long, like, French culinary, course to, like, prep for this movie. And then in 2023, him and Jon Favreau and Roy opened a permanent restaurant in Vegas at the MGM Grand Hotel. So I think you can still go there. That was a few years ago. But they have like a replica of the food truck when you walk in from Chef and like El Jefe or whatever. But yeah, really cool. And then Oliver Platt, who plays the food critic in this, he's
Yep.
been around since I was a kid. And he kind of took a break in between in his career. Like he was in a bunch in the 90s and even like the late 90s, early 2000s. But then you didn't see him for a little bit. But his brother is actually a famous food critic in New York City. So that's where he got like inspired to be the food critic and chef.
Nice.
His brother's like a well-known food critic in New York. And then one last thing, the scene when they go to Austin, Texas. My dad lives in Austin, and I haven't been to that barbecue place that they go to in that
Right.
yet.
Franklin's.
But there's a food truck alley that my dad took me to a couple of times when I visited. And, I mean, just incredible. Everything's so good. You kind of just like sample everything, and kind of my dad and I would just share, but it was so good. And Gary Clark Jr., he performs in the movie. He's
Mhm.
performing at the barbecue place, but he is from Austin. So, like, my dad saw Gary Clark. He told me numerous times he would go to these small clubs for years. Gary Clark he was just a young guy playing guitar. But he's in the movie Chef. And I'm pretty sure I don't know if they planned that. I think it was authentic. Like, he was probably performing at the barbecue place at the same time.
Yeah.
And then a couple years after that movie, he, got signed and was kind of just catapulted to the top in the music industry. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a fun one. Great
Mhm.
cast, awesome chemistry. Favreau, his like freak out moments are insane, but they're so well. Like it's definitely the most unhinged I've seen Favreau. Besides, one of my favorite performances of him in The Replacements, the football movie.
Oh, yeah.
He's like that crazy linebacker SWAT officer. But this is like tied with that for an
Yeah.
unhinged performance. And it's kind of crazy to see, Favreau evolve over that like 10-year span of doing, little movies like this, like Chef, and then starting, doing Iron Man and doing those old comedies with Vince Vaughn back in the day. And then now
Mhm.
he's, Mandalorian and Grogu's about to come out. And he works heavily on the Star Wars universe, which is crazy. So,
Yeah.
it's just been kind of fun to watch him evolve as a writer, director, actor sometimes. And yeah, it's just a great movie. The father son moments.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, including Sprang and myself for sure, we have sons and like you get my son's still pretty young, so I haven't got to experience that yet, like they do in the movie. But yeah, they're just like figuring each other out.
Hmm.
And spending more time together, and you don't lose sight of what's important, like spending time with kids and your loved ones, and even like Kim and Sofia Vergara, like getting back together. Spoiler alert, sorry everyone. um like even all those scenes, like it's
Yeah.
just a very real I mean, so many people go through that similar scenario, so it's pretty cool that how it plays out. And the kid actor, I remember seeing him in a few other things, but he was really good. Him and Favreau had good chemistry together as
Yeah.
father and son. So
Yeah, the classic, no, we're not getting any junk food, and then the next scene it cuts and they've got popcorn, It's
right,
like
yeah,
it's just that's the classic life of a parent. It's like, "No, I said we're not getting." Okay. Okay, we'll get it. It's fine. One other thing, Ty, for Oliver Platt is that he is also one of the main actors in The Bear. So another chef show. He plays the uncle that is kind of backing the bear in the throughout its run financially to try and give Bear a good chance to try and make something for himself. But yeah. Yeah, I loved the father son stuff. You saying that, Josh, reminds me like every once in a while, I'll say, hey, let's get in the kitchen, let's make something, or if we're grilling some chicken, like, hey, come out and help me. It's just kind of fun to like show some of those tips and tricks and like, oh, here's how you do this and here's how you do that. It just kind of helps connect. If they're interested, it's fun to kind of to show them that stuff. So
yeah,
very cool. One last thing before we jump off, a couple of honorable mentions. We mentioned it before. Ratatouille, that's a good one. Julie and Julia is another
yeah,
good one. Oh, Meryl Streep and Amy Adams, and that's based off of a true story of a lady that started blogging about making all of Julia Child's food, and then they made a movie out of that and all that stuff. So that was a really good movie too. And then the other one, The Menu, Zeus, The
yes,
Menu with
Yes.
Anna Taylor-Joy and Ray Fiennes. Any
Nicholas
thoughts you
Holt.
want to share about The Menu for the audience?
That's a good movie, man. It was I was excited when that came out. You go to this secret or obscure location, and then they slowly start dying killing them one by one. So there's some dark humor in there,
Yeah,
or like they start being rude to the chef, so he just gets at him back.
yeah,
It's a good one to watch for sure.
yeah.
It's
I
got some
love
laughs in there.
yeah, I love the premise is great. It's fun to like have a chef being the big bad guy in the movie. And then I think the character that Anya Taylor-Joy plays that kind of figures out what makes this bad guy tick and ends up getting her, giving her some success in the film. I thought that was great. Kind of going back to his roots. That's how you kind of get what made you love cooking in the first place. She figured that out, and it's so good. Such a good movie for sure. And yeah, Nicholas Holt plays a like kind of just a neurotic, like just spastic guy. It's pretty
Yeah,
fun. Very cool. Well, Zeus, thank you so much for being a part of this. This
yes,
has been
thank you.
so fun.
Of course.
Love your thoughts, your insights, and kind of hearing about the industry and how well these movies did or didn't do it, kind of portraying that honestly. So, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, dude. Appreciate
Absolutely,
you guys.
absolutely. And for everybody else, we will catch you guys next week. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to jump over to our website, moviesthatmakeyoupodcast.com, see all of our links. Follow us on Instagram so you never miss an episode, a live stream, or an interview. And until next time, keep watching movies.